We are preparing our children to be global citizens. And that is a really powerful message, and that is significantly important. So everything we do in EdTech, everything we do in education, everything we do as teachers needs to reflect that aim and ensure that we're preparing our students to be the best they possibly can be. So when we think of what we've done at BAMEed, we started in 2017 with just a group of 5 people organizing a conference on WhatsApp. And we are now a regional dominator in this space as a grassroots charity. So when we think about where we're going to be next, let's find some of these people who are on that journey. Please do have a conversation with Teacher Roo. We have joined with them because, as you can imagine, one of the things I commonly get told is, Allana, we can't find any teachers who are not white, so can you help us? And we did try to do that, and found that we just didn't have the capacity. So Teacher are on board, and they have created for us a jobs board that allows us not only to hire or advertise diversely, but we've also put on there some training so that people who are racialized as anything other than white don't walk into a hostile environment. It has to be a full consciousness and culture. We're going into partnership with Microsoft, and thank you very much for everything that they've done for us so far. And we're building their educators systems so that we can have far more Microsoft innovative educators, experts, so that we can then dominate this area as well that is about computing and IT. We are working with the Festival of Education, and we're curating our own space within it. And we're working with the University of Wolverhampton and the National College for Education. We're also looking at how we can train more teachers to become computer teacher specialists and therefore hold them far more secure in the workplace.
It is really important for us that actually, if we come to work with the children, we come from a point of credibility and that we come from a place of understanding. And that's what we need to start working on with all of our staff. And like Chantel said, it's not just with teachers and leaders. It is every single person in a school system that works with children. And that is at all levels. And not just within the school, but also people like educational psychologists. What's their understanding? Behavioural specialists. This work needs to be done with everybody if it's going to be done well. For schools that come to me and say, oh, you know, I don't know if this is for us. We've got only white children here. You need to do more work and work hard because actually you don't have the natural diversity within you. So you have to take this journey, even more so than my school, which has natural diversity within it. And we really value that. But actually, how are you giving your white pupils the intellectual and the cultural resources to live in our multicultural society? And that is something that needs to be looked at. And also, what is the understanding of those teachers in anti-racism? How are the messages they conveying? What are the children getting from them? How do we build our learning communities in and beyond our own classrooms? Because our children learn from each other. All it takes is one child to say one thing, and suddenly that's the whole discussion. How are we able to navigate that? How are we also enabling them to question their knowledge sources? We take things too easily. We are full about the single story in our national curriculum, but actually there is a wider story. And how are we bringing that to the children so that they sense an identity and belonging, that they are part of it too? So starting with what we have for our children to read, but also you as adults need to read it too. So Black and British, every member of staff, I bought that for them all of them. And I made them all read it. It's the children's version, so they had no excuse because you can read that in 2 hours. And you know what? They were like, there were black people in Roman times? Hell yeah, there were. So when you're teaching Romans in year 4, I want to see those black people from the Roman times in it. Because actually, we did not just arrive on the Windrush. We were here a long time before that. And that's what needs to be seen. Our children need to realise they have a belonging that is here. That is really key.
The work that we're doing with the Southwest, I'm going into other schools. In particular, I'll give one example. There's a school in Cornwall that I'm working with, and the talking about issues of race is quite challenging. So the first thing that kind of met me when I was there, I was asked, do I know anything about Darkie Day? Can you put your hands up if you've heard of Darkie? Yeah, you heard correctly. Darkie Day. If you've heard of that at all? Okay. So basically, Darkie Day happens once a year in certain areas of Cornwall, and people, as you can imagine, they black up, they sing Al Johnson songs, they are celebrating, but I thought I'll stop the person who was telling me about this, and I went to find out a bit more. But the idea of Darkie Day and just calling it Darkie Day in itself, I just thought this is going to be a really hard piece of work with this school, because they're trying to change, they're trying to make their environment more safe and easier to talk about issues of race when they're not actually understanding the connotations behind having something that they are celebrating as Darkie Day. So this is one of the schools I'm working with, and the work we're doing in the Southwest, it's really hitting some areas that are quite white. They're not very diverse, and the leadership teams in these schools are also very, very white. They've got governors who are also white, and some of the meetings I've been to, it's having to try and make people comfortable with my presence to be able to talk about issues of race. The social norms, this is part of some research done by Professor Derald Wing Su. He's got 3 different protocols that he's looked at that says, you know, these social norms, they're so powerful, they can affect how we behave, they can affect and impact other people. So we've got the politeness protocol, which looks at social rules. We also have the academic protocol, and this one I thought was quite interesting because it's almost saying that as educators, we're so academic, we don't really have that much of a social aspect about us, and we don't care as much. When obviously we need to have that about us. If we're in a school setting, it's a key aspect for us. The other protocol is the colorblind protocol, and I would say a lot of people obviously are aware of the fact that there are discussions where people say, I don't see race, I don't see color, and that in itself can be quite damaging. So I've sort of gone through this very quickly. There is research on this. It's very small back here, but we can share this with you later. And yeah, just really talking about issues of race. I think it's just being comfortable, challenging people, trying not to make them too uncomfortable, but it's just identifying the languages, making sure you've got that shared understanding.
We have now, we've used a framework called the Leeds Beckett Anti-Racist School Award, if anyone's heard of that. It's brilliant, and it's a really good framework to help leaders of schools create a strategic improvement plan to underpin all their school improvement planning with the work on becoming an anti-racist institution. It's not just, oh, let's put a little bit of black history into the English curriculum or into the history curriculum, which we often see too much of. This is about embedding it through everything that you do. It underpins your school improvement journey and everything that you do as a school.
And many people who are from BAME backgrounds will be probably familiar with these terms or these phrases. So from a very young age, you will have been told, probably when you're going to school, that you have to work twice as hard for half the recognition. As you get older, you will probably be told about black excellence, always striving to be the best you can, and mediocrity is not even something that you can contemplate. You're also told that you need to be strong. So as a woman, we're talking about intersectionality here, where you've got to be strong, and black women, we can go through any form of adversity because that's what we have to do. We also have comments that will actually serve to protect a BME person. So, for example, words such as, keep your head down, it's not worth the hassle, you don't want to appear to be aggressive or a troublemaker or oversensitive. Although some of these statements are meant to protect or to empower, they have significant psychological and physical harm later on in life. There is evidence that highlights the ongoing and detrimental impact that these behaviours have on the mental health and well-being of BME teachers. Microaggressions cause unresolved conflicts within a person. They leave a person feeling angry, frustrated, despondent, and sometimes feeling helpless. Furthermore, the impact of microaggressions can lead to a form of PTSD, which is known as racial trauma. This is the impact of the stress caused by experiencing race-related stress, whether directly or indirectly. For example, the teachers, I'm sure we've all heard over the weekend about the report that was released from Child Q. Imagine being a BME teacher in that school, knowing that something wrong has happened, but not having the power to be able to do anything about it. There's also racial battle fatigue, and this is when a person is worn down by the psychological weariness caused by continual exposure to continually navigate spaces where they're frequently made to feel unwelcome. You're encouraged here to be a strong black person. You're encouraged to continue fighting, but how much can a person really take? As a result of this, we find that this unrealistic expectation for a teacher who is experiencing racial trauma or racial battle fatigue, that they have no other option at this stage to either leave the profession or risk being at harm of physical illness.
I was teaching as a PE teacher again, but also head of vocational education. And I was very, very fortunate. Call it luck, call it fate. My school was actually awarded Microsoft Showcase status. And from that point then, I was introduced to what is called the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert Program. I'm going to call that the Me Expert Program for the rest of the night because it's too much of a mouthful for me to get right. Okay, so I was introduced to that program, and that's where things really started to go like that, because it is the most incredible sort of education technology combination community you can be involved in, and I think every teacher should be part of this. In a nutshell, it's a place, a community for enthusiastic, passionate educators, for those of us who really care about the future of the children that we are teaching, and who also are not afraid to change the script, change the game, and also want to make a difference in the future world for us and for our children in schools. And the picture on the other side is little old PE teacher me. That is somebody filming me making an advert for Microsoft Education. So I've got my Surface Pro there, and it's just there as a representation that this community is for absolutely everybody. Anyone can do it, no matter what stage of education you're in, no matter who you are. The Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert community is for absolutely everybody. Perhaps you're now thinking, is it for me? Am I an expert? And you are. If you're a passionate, and everyone who's in this room right now, I can imagine, is passionate about education. Simple as that. Okay? You are more than capable of being part of the community. You love to share work with your colleagues. You love to drive change in your own schools. Okay? That's the sort of people we are. You are the people that we want in the community. Okay? We have about 1,000 MIE experts in the UK at the moment, and that's right across primary school, secondary school, further education, and higher education. And that number needs to go up, and we want it to go up. And we really want to have as many people as possible in the community.